everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and today I'm sharing with you a video hop. This is the hashtag Let Us Start With Art hop that will be going on the first Friday of every month in 2021. There are some other people who have participated, and the links to their videos are below my video, where you can click Show More down below. You'll see a list. And after you've watched my video, you click on the first one to go to that person's video, watch it, and then repeat the process. And when you get back to me, you've completed the hop. So I highly recommend that you do that. There's a lot of really fun videos out there for you to watch. The only rule with this hop is that the art is something that you can hang on the wall. So it's not a tag, it's not an art journal page, it's not something like that. It's something that is intended to be hung on the wall. So I'm using a 8x10 canvas panel to do my abstract piece today. This is an abstract collage piece. It has a lot of layers. It's mixed media, like I do. And I started out by adding some gold gesso onto the panel. I should have done a couple more coats, but one coat was enough. I just wanted to get that gold color started on the panel. And then I gave that a dry. And then now I'm doing some mark making using solid paint markers. These are paint that's been solidified into a marker shape, and then you can just write with it. You can make marks with it. So these are new to me, and they're kind of stinky. They have a kind of an odor to them, but besides that, they work really good. I blended them with a kind of half dry baby wipe. You could also use something, like a tortillon, a stick, like a blending stick to blend them instead. But I just used that on my finger because I wasn't all that concerned about this first layer. I just wanted to get some of the color and some of the shapes that I was interested in on this piece. I was inspired to do this piece by a gel print. And if you guys aren't familiar with gel printing, I have a whole playlist on my channel of all kinds of gel printing techniques. But I had one that was just kind of, I think it was probably a ghost print with a stencil. The stencil would be from Stencil Girl products because almost all my stencils are. And it had some gold, it had some blue, it had some purple, and then a lot of white. And a lot of pattern. There was a spiral pattern. I'm very interested in spirals. That's kind of like my totem shape. I find them fascinating, the spiral shape. I think that it has a lot of meaning. So I saw that. I saw the gold. I thought, okay, I'm going to do some gold. And then I want to use the blues and the purples with it. So I took the gel print and I tore it up. A little tip on tearing up things. If you like to have a straight edge, but it's not straight like cutting or die cutting or something, you can use a metal ruler and put the metal side down and the paper will tear really easily. So this stencil has different sections. It had a section with the spiral. It had some wavy lines, some oval-y shapes, some dot-like shapes, just a lot of different shapes. And so I kind of tore different sections of it where there was a specific kind of shape or line, and then made smaller and larger squares and rectangles. And I'm gluing these down. I'd made kind of a offset grid pattern with the solid paint markers and have some different sections of color, so I'm kind of using that to guide me. The glue I'm using is Liquitex Matte Gel Medium. Generally, if you were going to do something with gold and you want the metallic to show, you probably should use a gloss medium. But I didn't have a gel-based gloss medium, so I went ahead and used my matte. Plus, I didn't want it to be super shiny. I'm not into shiny. I like glimmer and bits of metallic, but not necessarily super shiny, like glitter and things like that. I don't like that kind of stuff that much. So the matte medium helps matte down the shininess of the gold gesso and Just gives me a little bit of metallic without being so super shiny that it blinds you when the light hits it. I am going to use a gloss spray on it at the end though when it's all finished, because I have so many different types of media on here that I do need to seal it. So I will take it outside and put 3 thin coats of a gloss sealing product that has UV protectant in it when I'm finished. So then I went to my little bucket on my desk. I have a couple little plastic buckets on my desk for scraps, and I found a few more uh, painty paper scraps and some printed tissue paper, and then also some tissue paper that I had written on, scribble writing, some blacks, and another piece that has some gold on it. And I'm putting these down. There's a piece that had just some random marks on it from probably India ink, maybe. That was tissue paper, so I know that the tissue paper is going to glue down as a layer, and the white part of the tissue paper will mostly go away because it will become transparent or translucent, and then the marks that are on the tissue paper will continue to show. The paper that I did the scribble writing on is deli paper, which is kind of like a parchment paper. And I like to do black and white marks on that type of paper sometimes, and it will glue not completely translucent or transparent, but kind of. So you get the color shining through it a little bit. Tissue paper, you get the colors underneath coming through the layers even more. But I like to layer these different types of papers one over the top so that I get a little bit of blue coming through the white, which is coming but has black on the top. It seems interesting to me, so I like to do that. So once I had finished my kind of abstracted collage here, I went ahead and dried that up with the heat tool because I was impatient. And then I'm looking through this little ring I have of 4x4 stencils. These are also all Stencil Girl stencils from stencilgirlproducts.com. And looking for a few of them to use to make a few more marks and just add a little bit of white back into the composition. I struggle with leaving white. So I needed a little bit more light or white in here. So I'm using this one that has some circles and spiral shapes on it and adding those in with some white acrylic paint and a sponge dauber on the end of a stick. And then I also am going to use a different one with some black in a minute here. I know it's coming. I guess I'm still working with the white. It'll be here, I promise. I'm going to get the black. Okay, this one is like a circular stencil mask, and it has a plus sign in the middle that I didn't use, but I used the outside because I wanted to emphasize that one area where the spiral collage is. I end up working quite a bit with that section of the piece more than anything else. Now I'm doing some finger painting with some of the acrylic paint just to blend in some of the lines. When you do collage, especially if they're rectangular shapes or, very definite shapes with a line on the edge, sometimes it's good to just blend it in and make it more cohesive using some acrylic paint and your finger. I like to do that. I got out a couple other colors. I got out a violet. I got out a light blue and a darker blue because I'm still thinking about the gold with the blue and purple. That's my color scheme going on. So I'm doing some more finger painting with those paints by just putting a little bit on my scratch paper and picking it up with my finger and rubbing it in with my finger. Sometimes your fingers are your best tools. They're very useful and they're attached, so you can never lose them in the piles. They're right there on your hands. Very nice tools. So, there's the darker blue. I'm just adding them in kind of a horizontal, not a line, but so much like the center part, the lower center part is kind of getting those colors on it, and I'm leaving I'm leaving the lighter at the top and bottom. So now I found this other stencil. These type of stencils are probably some of my very favorites. It's kind of like a block wall, but the shapes are not uniform. So you're getting some rectangles, but they're not a grid. Kind of like a grid, but not a grid, which I like a lot. So I took a Stabilo All pencil, which is a highly water reactive pencil, and I'm just using the stencil and then drawing these shapes inside of the stencil and then using a water brush to activate that pencil and make it kind of shadowy looking rectangles. Still emphasizing that one section that goes all the way through horizontally as being the most interesting part, and then letting the top and bottom have a little bit more light. So now I'm going to work a little bit on the spiral. That is, I think, the most interesting thing on the piece. I was attracted to this spiral to begin with. That's what I picked up and wanted to use at the very beginning. So I want to make sure that it shows up. So I use that same pencil and water brush to make some darker lines in the center. And then I'm going back in with the gold gesso and using it kind of like a glaze to unify everything and make sure that everything looks like a cohesive piece. It's somewhat translucent, so most of the time gesso is very opaque. And I think if I stirred this, maybe it would be more opaque than it is the way I'm using it. Because it is gesso, but I didn't stir it, so therefore I'm getting like the top layer, I guess. So now I have some gold flakes. These are kind of like gilding flakes, and they're loose and they're in a baggie. They're ones that someone has sent me. So they sent me Ziploc bags that have these flakes in them for me to use in Happy Mail. They're very lightweight. You want to turn the fan off when you use them because they'll blow everywhere. And as it was, my poor little dog Mika. Luckily, she is a yellow colored dog, but she ended up with flake on her. And then when my son was holding her, he's like, "Why does this dog have gold flakes on it?" I'm like, "Well, she was under the desk. She got gold on her. It got everywhere." But I used a type of glue that stays sticky. So it's kind of like having a sticky note. It has that tack to it and doesn't ever really get completely not sticky. That's a Tombow product. And I use that, then I press the flakes into it and then brushed them off with a stiff brush onto the area of the spiral. And then I decided to use a little bit of glaze just kind of through the center section. That's a iZinc glaze product from the company Altadene. And then this I'm using a fine needle-tipped paint bottle to apply the white paint, just trying to still emphasize that area. And then I thought, well, it needs some more color. So I put some more, excuse me, some more of that blue down with a water brush and then a little bit of the purple to just kind of, again, emphasize that spiral shape. At this point, you can't even see the collage anymore because it's been covered by so many layers. But you're still getting that spiral, which is what I was interested in on this piece, if that makes sense. So just adding a little bit of acrylic paint with a water brush, so it becomes more translucent and easy to paint on because it's mixed with water that's in the handle of the brush. So once that was done, I'm liking it a little bit more, but I decided it needed more gold. I brushed off a lot of the gold flake with that stiff brush. So this time I'm just going to apply, instead of making a big pile of flakes and pressing them in, I'm just going to apply them a little by little using another stiff brush, put on some glue, smush it around, and then pick up the flakes out of the bag with the brush and place it on. And that kept my space a little bit more cleaned up. And I didn't have gold flakes everywhere like I did the first application. So this worked better to be a little bit more precise. And I believe I said at the beginning I'm going to spray this with 3 coats of clear spray sealer. So it will be, that flake will be sealed in with the spray, and it will still be shiny because I'm going to use a gloss sealer. So this worked out pretty well. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video with my abstract collage mixed media piece. Make sure you go below the video and hop through everyone else's videos, give them some love, and then you will have been able to enjoy the entire hop. That's it for me. Thanks. Bye-bye.